The Supreme Court ended its term with a number of historic and some controversial rulings. For a breakdown and a look at what comes next, we turn to CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford. You have been incredibly busy, Jan. We had a number of these decisions this week that reflect the will of the conservative majority. President Biden called them an extremist court. How do you characterize the decisions?
Well, I mean, this is a court that has shown it is clearly turned firmly to the right. And it could have sweeping implications for American life, the democratic process. Taken together, what we've seen this term is that this is a court that is not going to get involved in these divisive policy issues unless that is, clearly within its purview. If it is not specifically mentioned in the Constitution, then that goes to the democratic process. That's what we saw in the abortion rights case, overturning Roe versus Wade. Was not specifically mentioned. Therefore, we're not going to resolve it back to the democratic process. And if Congress can't do its job and Congress isn't acting, this is a court that says administrative agencies and unelected bureaucrats, they can't jump in and fill those vacuums if Congress isn't acting and try to set major policy questions. That was the case involving climate change and the EPA. So, I mean, the bottom line is this court, unlike a more liberal court, is not jumping in to fill these vacuums where Congress or the legislatures are failing to act. And that is going to mean a profound difference in the democratic process and the rule of the courts.
Because it's not clear. Yeah, right. It's not clear if lawmakers will take up these issues.
With dysfunction in Congress, absolutely. But they're saying the ball is in Congress's court. Or the state legislatures when it's a policy dispute if it's not specifically addressed by the Constitution.
So to that point, because now we are seeing all these states, their courts, their legislatures have arguments over what to do next, particularly in the issue of abortion. Kentucky, Florida, Utah, Louisiana, really significant legal battles taking place about abortion protections. What is your takeaway so far? I mean, is there a commonality to where they're ending up?
Right. So, remember, 26 states asked the Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade and let them set their own policies on abortion rights. And that's what we're seeing now. The court agreed. And we're seeing that play out across the country. Already states, almost a dozen states, had laws in place ready to go to completely ban abortion in their states. So you're seeing abortion rights advocates go into those states and file lawsuits in state courts under state constitutions, because the Supreme Court said it's not in the federal Constitution, but if a state has more protective rights in their constitutions, then work it out there. And so that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing these legal battles play out as at the same time as the state legislatures are passing their own laws. Blue states passing laws to enshrine abortion access or protect it even more, for example.
Right, and the chaos has led to some people mistakenly thinking abortion's banned or something.
It's not. The most striking thing, I think. The Supreme Court did not ban abortion nationwide. They just said there's not a right to abortion in the Constitution. Therefore, it goes back to the democratic process, and states can set their own policies. If Congress wants to do something, Congress can, but it's not in the Constitution. So now you've seen this patchwork of laws, and you're seeing legal challenges under state constitutions, but you're going to see different laws in different states. If you're in New York or California or Boston or Illinois or any of those democratic states, this ruling will not affect your life at all. The laws in your states won't change. It's those red states that we see that will try to ban or greatly restrict abortion.
We will follow them.
And already are seeing that.
I want to ask you about what's coming.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Why do you say, oh, God? That's not a good reaction, Jan.
As big of a term this was, and of course, whenever the court overturns a nearly 50-year-old precedent, as they did with Roe versus Wade, next term could be as consequential, divisive, as this term, or more so. They have major cases already on the docket. They'll continue to add them throughout the year. They've already got a case challenging affirmative action in college admissions. I expect the court is going to end that. They've got a case involving kind of a conflict between free speech and gay rights and whether a state law can prohibit someone from saying on their website they oppose same-sex marriage and don't want to do that business in designers and artists. They've got voting rights. They've got an election procedure case that could have huge implications for elections. I mean, this is just the beginning, and a new justice stepping in to a divided court.
New justice. Jan, you'll be back with us a lot, I understand, based on what you just sketched out. Thank you.